Welcome to a TUSD Robotics production. This is the final lesson of the RISE robot in OnShape of how to finish the chassis by adding wheels and rubber shaft collars. So now that we have all of our gears fastened onto the pitch shafts, you can see when I turn it, all the gears are lined up so that the teeth are meshing or touching. So when one gear spins, the other gear spins. Okay, so I'm actually going to we're ready to put the wheels on. So the last step we're going to do here is add 4 wheels onto our chassis and we are done. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my isometric view because it's actually upside down right now. And we're going to add a wheel onto this axle, this one, and this one. And after you put the wheels on, the only last thing you have to do is add a rubber shaft collar that holds everything in place, and we will be finished. So let's go ahead and insert, and there's 2 parts that you're going to insert, and we actually have to fasten them together. One is going to be the rubber tire. Let's place that in. The next thing we're looking for is this wheel hub. So let's see if we can find it in here. It starts with a W. I think possibly my menu is too long for my screen, so I actually have to make my screen bigger. You can't see what I'm doing. It's off my screencast area, but you should be able to get to yours. I'm going to add the wheel hub. Okay, let me bring my screen back up. Okay, so now that I have inserted the wheel hub and the rubber tire, I'm going to fasten these 2 before I put it onto this pitch shaft. So let me go ahead and check mark to accept. So I rotate this around, and I'm going to try and do this outer rim of the wheel hub to the inside rim right there of the wheel. Let's see if this works. So let's do a fastener mate, and then let's do I'm going to do the outside rim of the wheel hub to the inside of the rubber tire. Looks like I'm getting pieces behind it highlighted. Let's see if that works. Does that work? Maybe. I might have to scoot it over a little bit and it might work. There's probably a few ways to do this so you can experiment. Let me go ahead and open that fastener mate and see if I can move it a little bit. Let's offset it. It looks like it might even be on the Y. Let's see. 0.5. It is the Y. Okay, it needs to go a little bit more. Let's try just 1 inch. All right, let's see what that looks like. Probably not the best way to do it. You might find a better way. Looks like I'm pretty close, but I'm going to need to offset it a little bit less. Let me open up that fastener mate. I'm gonna do let's just do a 0.8. See what that looks like. Oh no, 0.9 maybe. I'm gonna try a different way on the next wheel, but at least it looks like it's kind of there. Check mark to accept. It looks like we have a wheel. Okay, so the wheel hub goes inside of the rubber tire. Now notice that there is a square hole right here, and you guessed it, it's going to go on the pitch shaft right here. So let's try and do that. I'm going to do a fastener mate. I'm going to pick the end of the axle right here, and then I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Come over to the wheel hub. Let's go. I'm going to do the back side of the tire. Let's try this square hole if we can get it right there. See what that looks like. Check mark to solve or accept. Let me go to the isometric view. I can't see a thing. Looks pretty good. My wheel's actually backwards, but let's try and flip it and see what happens. Oops, close out that fastener window, open the one we just did. Let's see what happens if I flip the axes. Now remember, the rubber tire will move with it once I hit the check mark. So that looks better. Because now this indentation, it should be going this way. That's the right way to put the wheel on. So now let's offset it. Let's see if we can offset it just to get it onto that pitch shaft. I'm going to offset it. Looks like it's going on the Z again because it's on that axle. Let's try 0.1, see which direction it goes. Good, it's the right direction. Okay, let's try 0.5. Check mark to accept, and let's see, can I see the gear? Kind of. The gear, you see how the gears are right behind that wheel? I think I went a little too far and overlapped it, and we've got a little extra space, so that's fine. So let me go back and open this, and I'm going to pull it out a little bit. I'm just going to do 0.5, I guess. There we go. Check mark to accept. All right, that is pretty good. Now, to finish this off, we're going to do 3 more tires like I just showed you. And we're also going to add something called a rubber shaft collar. So I'm going to insert, and the rubber shaft collar looks similar to a tire, but it's much smaller. Let me place it in there. And it just goes on this axle to hold the wheel in place. You also put one on the end of this axle and a wheel, one on the end of this axle. Let me show you how to do this, and I think you're pretty much good to finish this off on your own. I will go through the steps, but I think I'll fast forward so you can see how we do this. So fastener mate, let me go to it's kind of hard to see that center of the rubber shaft collar. Let me zoom in. We used one of these in our constraints lesson. Okay, right there, the center of the shaft collar, and I'm going to put it on the center of this axle. And this one can actually just be on the end, just like that. Let's see, as long as it could probably push it in a little bit, but you get the idea. So let me close this out, open it up, and offset it just a slight bit. I did 0.2 and it looks great. So that is what it looks like in real life, is you have a shaft collar on the end of the axle holding this wheel on. So I'm going to go back to the isometric view. You're going to repeat those steps to put 3 more wheels on. So you're going to bring in the wheel hub and the rubber tire, fasten them together, and then add them to this axle, and this axle. And then let's finish everything off with rubber shaft collars, and you have finished the chassis. Congratulations. I'll go ahead and fast forward through my steps, but you are going to just try and figure this out as you put them on, and very exciting that you finished a whole subsystem of a robot. All right, here we go. So here I'm going to fast forward through the adding of one more wheel hub and rubber tire. I'm going to fasten them together. I'm going to find that center point of the square hole, and I'm going to find the center point of the pitch shaft, and then do some adjustments with the fastener mate, trying to offset it and trying to get it in place so that it looks similar to the first wheel we put on. So don't forget, I'm going to add an extra shaft collar into my workspace to add onto this axle right here. And so let's go ahead and do a fastener mate and rotate it to get the center of that rubber shaft collar, and then add it onto this axle as well, right there, because we got to keep that gear in place. All right, looks like the first one didn't actually get there. Let's go back to that shaft collar right there and check mark. I definitely need to offset it, so let me go ahead and bring it down quite a bit. I'm going to bring it down 1 inch, and that looks pretty good. See how it's right up against that gear? And check mark to accept. Let me go back to the isometric view, and now you can see we've got 2 wheels held on by shaft collars right there, and a shaft collar holding on that gear right there. And that side is complete. Now you just have to repeat it on the left side, and you have finished the chassis of the Rise robot. So this is a complete subsystem as soon as you get the other 2 wheels on and rubber shaft collars. I think you know how to do that by now. You are pretty much an expert in OnShape, and I'm very proud of all of your success. Thanks for watching.